right, welcome to Limmy Talks about college, the college life and college admissions podcast. I'm your host, Limmy, and today we have Asfi, a rising freshman at Cornell. Welcome, Asfi.
Hi. Hey, Lemmy. How
How
are
are
you
you
doing
today?
today? Oh, I'm doing great. And I flew in yesterday, so I'm like kind of tired and I look kind of rough. So please mind that.
Where'd you fly in from?
From Atlanta, I went to a relative's wedding and my flight got horribly delayed. So I came home at 2 a.m. and I was like, oh crap,
Ugh, it's always the worst.
it is.
Yeah, I'm supposed to take a flight in about 20 hours to San Francisco. I live in New York, and apparently there's a bunch of thunderstorms and a bunch of flights are getting canceled. So, not really looking forward to that either, but we'll have to see how it
Oh,
goes.
good luck with that. Where are you going to San Francisco?
As you know, I'm building Dream School, which is a product that looks to democratize college admissions guidance. And
Gotcha.
San Francisco is the hub for startups and building cool things. So,
Mm.
gonna go and hopefully meet a couple of cool people and get the opportunity to see what the city is like. I've never been, so
Oh,
going to SF and then LA as well. Very excited.
oh
Um,
my gosh. Congratulations, Lemmy.
Thank you, Aspi. I appreciate it. Um, okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I am so from the college admission standpoint or just like myself.
Let's do yourself, and then the college admission standpoint.
Okay. So basically I live in Michigan and as Lemmy said before, I'm going to Cornell this fall or I'm going to be moving in this August, so it's coming up pretty soon. I live like in a suburb of Detroit, so like in Metro Detroit, and I went to a like an okay high school. I'm grateful for my school, but very few people from my school go to like top 10 schools or whatever. So I felt lucky to be like getting into a really good school. Aside from that, I have like two little siblings, a lot of house responsibilities, and because I'm also an immigrant, so as like an immigrant oldest daughter, I have like just a whole ton of responsibilities, but I'm grateful for that because it gave me a lot of experience and in a way that sort of helped me with tackling things like college admissions. Like I knew how to be independent and I knew how to like seek things out myself. And aside from that, I am going to be a chem major and I'm on the pre-med track and I'm kind of nervous, but I'm super excited. So I've made a lot of Cornell friends and I can't wait to meet them all.
Amazing. So I'm going to try something a little bit new here because I know there's a subset of students online that just want to hear the basic stuff first, right? So let's do a quick rundown before we get to spilling the tea. So if you're comfortable in sharing, would you like to share your stats? So your GPA, your SAT, ACT, if you took it, what kind of extracurriculars, maybe a brief, two or three sentences on what you're involved with,
Mhm.
as well as, perhaps a brief description of your essays. You don't have to go too deep into it. And maybe your process with getting letters of recommendations.
Okay, so my GPA unweighted was like a 3.9, weighted was a 4.4. SAT, ACT, I didn't take it last year because I got into an accident during that season. So I had like a pretty good excuse for going test optional. Um, for extracurriculars, I think that was like my strong suit. I wrote books. I got published like multiple times.
Woo!
I was I was involved in ROTC and held like district office. I was involved with like um student council, but like on the superintendent district level. And I had like leadership positions in like Doctors of Tomorrow, so like those little clubs with UMich. I was like very involved with UMich. I did research there over the summer for like 2 months, 3 months, like last year during my junior year summer. And yeah, I think like pretty much that's about it. And oh yeah, now I work with like the Ivy League Challenge and the a climate group that are going to be going to the UN soon, so I'll be one of the representatives. So I know it's really like nothing crazy when you talk like it's nothing crazy compared to the kids you talk about on your TikTok where you're like, oh, who founded a multi-million dollar company, but like it's something, I delved into it and I'm happy with what I have.
Hey, listen, publishing a book is not easy.
Yeah,
Believe me, I've tried it myself, and it's a pretty long process. So I
it
commend you
was
for going through
it was hard. Yeah.
it. So I guess we'll do two things. One, you have to tell me more about what it was like. What kind of book slash books you've written, what those were about, as well as maybe a brief description of what your personal statement was about.
Okay. So I wrote like three books and like the thing that got published like on a pretty big magazine was like poetry. So one of the books, it was like a whole book full of poetry. And then one of my standalone poems got like published in this like international magazine for like girls, I guess. So that was like a pretty big honor. The two other books, they were, pretty much like the first one is an anthology. It was kind of bad. I wrote it when I was like 15, so like, I'm kind of like regretting putting it out in the world. But it's like an anthology of like how mental illness will affect you, not only you, but like everyone in like a narrative style. And it's like a separate parts of like different stories with elements of romance, horror, murder, mystery, like everything. And the second book is sort of like intergenerational trauma between mother and daughter. It's called A Tale of Two Women. So I was like pretty proud of that one because it explores things like, sexuality and a lot of taboo topics. And the poetry book is just like going deep into my head, my thought process. Like, this is how I write when I feel sad or when I'm happy, and just how I view the world. So those are like pretty personal books, not exactly like sciencey, mostly fiction, but they did receive like a lot of people do like them, and the first book ended up in the Harvard Library. Like I think it was like one of them in the system, so that was like a pretty big honor for me. And yeah, so that's what it was.
Where can we find you online? Where can we find your work?
You can literally just like look up my name on Google and you'll find me.
Asfi Tias, right?
Yep.
She's got that clout, everybody. She's in the circles. Can you give us a brief blurb of perhaps your most proud work?
Okay, so do you want me to like quote it?
Sure, whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, so let me pull up the poem that got published because I feel like that's like my biggest, like proudest work. Um, it's called I Am But a Flower, or it's like, yeah, there it is. Okay, so I will be taking a small excerpt. Okay. I am but a gift. I am the gift of the earth, ready to take my rightful personage. I'm the anxious bird right before her first flight, ready to experience the world. I am the plight of a pure love, ready to allow my heart to burn. I am the morning dew, ready to dissolve and become anew. The world says you are a product of our expectations. You are one in a million. You are a flower, a diamond. You are perfect. Yet I am but any form of perfection. I am a broken needle in a haystack, ready to be discovered one day. I am the joy and laughs of the people around me, ready to bear the weight of pride on my shoulders. I am the countless starless nights, ready to bear witness to true heartbreak. I am everything. I am nothing. I am the void. I am the ether. I am joy. I am sadness. Yet I am but a flower. So that's like the latter half of it.
It's goosebumps.
Really? Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank
How'd you
you.
get into poetry?
Honestly, I've always been into poetry. I just love writing, just if you can tell, I love writing. And my dad used to write poetry too, so, it's a very artistic thing. Um, I'm also like a deep thinker, and in a way, poetry was like my way of venting or to get my feelings out in a meaningful way.
Runs in the family, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wonderful. So, um, gonna speak in and I guess third person for you. Asfi wanted to talk about her status as a special immigrant and how being a special immigrant impacted the way that she navigated the college admissions process, which I think absolutely is very important because there are a lot of international students who wonder, you know, what it takes to get into an American university. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation about the college application process. And I think this is a great opportunity for Asfi to share her experience. So Asfi, why don't you take the stage from here?
Okay, so this is like really personal. So this is like so weird that I'm going to be sharing this with a lot of people, but I feel like I should because there's just like not enough awareness about like issues like this. But I'm a pending asylee. That means like I don't really like qualify as like an eligible non-citizen. I'm seen as international in the college application process, like stat. And so that put me in a tricky situation because, I've been living in the US for like well over a decade. And it felt unfair to me because I was like, I'm very much American. Like I'm more American than I am like Bangladeshi or whatever. But, it hurt me a lot because it deterred me from a lot of different resources that I saw my peers were able to get access to. For example, things like scholarships. Like I don't qualify for majority of scholarships because they'll require you to be like an eligible non-citizen, aka a green card holder or a permanent resident or like a US citizen. And I feel like a lot of international students in general share that frustration where they don't have the financial or really like any opportunities in order to afford college because let's be real, even if you're like rich, like American universities, the tuition is like it's insane. Like the costs like really add up. So, for me, I was just super frustrated and it felt like it was going to be tougher for me to get in. Just like because that's international and they have, especially top 10, 20 universities, they have like very few reserved spots for international students because majority of the seats they're usually for American students, like, citizens. So, I was like that was one of my lowest lows. I felt like I really wasn't going to get in anywhere just because of my status. And with that, I sort of curated a strategy. Again, I was alone on this. My school, they didn't have much knowledge on any of this because, it's mostly American kids. I was like the one in a thousand million whatever chance in their school. And so basically what I did is that I humanized myself. It's an interesting point because in my essays, I didn't write about being an immigrant. I didn't do that. My essay was completely different. But what I did was that I made sure to make myself known to financial aid offices and to the admissions officers. So, I'd go home or, because school usually ended a little late, I would like stay during school, I'd skip classes and spend hours talking to admissions officers on the phone from different universities, talking to financial aid officers, explaining my situation so they can get context. And in a way, I felt like that helped me a lot because I remember I had a long conversation with the Stanford financial aid officer. Apparently, he went through the same situation. So that's how you sort of like humanize yourself with people that are behind the phone. And you realize that they're just human. These admissions officers, they're just people. And that's sort of, what that was a big comfort to me. Like they're people, yeah, these universities are amazing, they're prestigious, but the people that are making the decision making, they're people. And once you learn how to humanize yourself, you'll see that there's a lot to relate with them. And I guess like, that sort of helped me push on in the college application process. Of course, when decisions came out, I had a lot of rejections. But ultimately, I'm happy with where I got into. And I'm happy with my financial aid package. Like, I'm grateful. Like, thank the Lord. But yeah, it's just like things started falling into place and I educated myself on how to approach it. I looked up immigration things. I was contacting everyone. I was contacting FAFSA, CSS. I did everything myself. And I sort of learned the loopholes and literally my just everything, just humanize yourself. And I know in my essay, even though I didn't talk about being an immigrant just because it's kind of cliche, I talked about tea actually and how that relates to me as a person. And, I use that unique approach to my advantage. And then in the additional information, I sort of like went into a little bit, like I kept it brief, like, oh, I'm this immigrant and I don't qualify for this, this, and that. So that's just context. And I've been living here for the past whatever. So yeah, I'd say that was my experience. My lowest low was getting rejected by Stanford REA. We don't talk about it. It was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, that was like my dream school. But at least I'm going to Cornell and I'm happy about that.
Wow. So let me ask you this question. Who is Asfi as a human?
Honestly, as a person, I feel like I'm just kind. So because I have like little siblings, I truly learned how to be patient. They're annoying, they're horrible sometimes, and because of our big age gap, I have to do a lot. But that sort of helped me have like empathy. So I'm very empathetical. All the work that I do, I try to do it to impact other people. Like that's my goal. I think I'm a great friend. I like to support my friends whenever I can. I think as a human being, I'm very responsible and I'm very resourceful just because I had to do a lot of things for my parents. And that sort of like forced me to be in that mindset where, I didn't, in the college application process, really, my parents didn't really do anything. I even like signed the signatures and everything for them. Like I just did, I did everything. So it's like, I'm just like, I'd say I'm very, very independent. Like I do things myself and I handle it myself. And then to me, that's more rewarding because it's like, I feel like I truly earned it. So that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I'm an international student. I have very limited knowledge on what it takes to get into a top university, and I don't even know what the process entails. A good thing for me to do would be to call admissions officers, perhaps those at the financial aid offices at some of these universities, get to talk to them, get to know them, to better understand what the process is like.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the best ways you can familiarize yourself and humanize yourself to admissions officers because you want information. So if you really have no clue, it's best to like ring them up and be like, "Hey, I have this and that question." Of course, don't call them just to like chat. Be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like they're obviously not gonna like that. But definitely, definitely call them up, email them if you have any questions, and they will answer you like pretty fast. I'd say calling is a better method because they can hear your voice and it like can turn into a conversation pretty fast. So I'd say that's how you like familiarize yourself with the process, and then you'd also have to like look into like F1 immigration stuff, and yeah, like just start getting into the application process. And yeah, so that's how you sort of start. It's like a leap of faith, but it definitely starts with calling people up and having the courage to talk to them.
Actionable steps. I love it. So you mentioned that you basically went through the whole process alone. You even did all the signatures for your parents by yourself. Was it ever lonely?
Yes, it felt very lonely at times, and I was a little jealous of my other peers, like getting help from their parents. Like, oh yeah, my dad's filling out the CSS profile. I'm like, your dad's doing that? Excuse me, I'm doing that. Like, I pulled up the tax forms myself. I'm filling that out myself. So it's like, it did feel a little lonely at times, but I think it sort of helped me learn the ropes. I mean, I already kind of knew the ropes because I've been like doing stuff like this for years, like applications and stuff. Yeah, dad, I got you. Appointments, yeah, I got you. I'll make them for everyone in the family. But it's like, it helped me. I was doing something for myself. So that was like more rewarding to me. And also, I ended up finding mentorship and people that were like, students that are older. And I think it helped me curate bonds. I don't know if you know Judy, but she goes to Yale. She's like a first year. She's also pretty famous on TikTok, and we became friends through TikTok, and she basically also like sort of guided me through the college application process, and I really appreciate her. And also like Ethan, I don't know if I think Ethan Kelly too, right? Like we're friends too, and love him. But I feel like that's sort of like mentorship from like students from other schools that are older than me. Like I created those bonds and I have those connections, and I'm like super grateful for that.
Sounds like you've done a lot more, or your maturation stage was a lot earlier than most people.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think I had to mature a lot earlier. Again, probably because of my siblings and because my parents they wanted me to be they wanted me to be independent. Like a lot of things they could do themselves, but they're like, you need to learn how to do it. Just I guess they said that they saw a lot of American kids like have no idea how to do anything till they're like 18. So I completely understand their line of thinking, and I'm like, I really would not have it any other way.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
No, not at all, no.
So, what do you plan to study at Cornell?
So despite my very humanities-ish extracurriculars,
Oh
besides like the
gosh,
research,
STEM.
yeah, I'm STEM, pre-med track.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, so chemistry at Cornell. Great look for chem. That's like a Cornell joke, I guess, because I guess everybody hates chem. So, yeah, chemistry at Cornell at the pre-med track. And I'm pretty excited because again, I have like experience in chemistry. Like I did the research over the summer with like I did it alone, so I lived at the university alone and I just, did whatever after I came back from work. But yeah, so I plan on doing that and I plan on like taking the research route when I get there. Because of my professor, I already know one of the professors that is willing to take me into his lab. He offered me a position in the summer, but I declined because, I wanted to like, I was so burnt out. I'm like, no, I need to like rest this summer. So I'm going to be starting in the fall and I want to have like a good research portfolio and get some publishing in like with, scientific literature. And then obviously like prepare for pre-med and apply to med school. So, the college admissions rat race, it'll honestly never end for me, but, I'm prepared for it.
It sounds like so you've lived alone, you've done your applications alone, you take care of your siblings.
Yep.
You're basically an adult.
Yeah, to a degree.
I mean, there really isn't anything that you can't do at this point.
I guess so.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So on the pre med track, okay, why pre med?
Um, so this is actually like, I guess this sort of goes back to my writing, the whole thing about the two women. A lot of it, well, not the story obviously wasn't based on me and my mom, but like the thought behind it, it's based on the struggles women like my mom went through. Now, she does come from a very patriarchal culture, and she was like whip smart. I think like she was like one of the top scorers in her country. She got an offer from Stanford, but she had to decline it, like internationally, and because her parents were like, we're not comfortable sending. My grandparents love them to death, but it's like they were a little old timey, so they're like, we can't send our daughter that far away. Like we're not comfortable. And she just went to the local like women's college or whatever, and then she had to get married. So one of my mom's like biggest dreams is to become a doctor. And I know it seems like I'm like carrying on someone else's dream, but I want to do it. Like my grandma, she also wanted my mom to become a doctor, but obviously I feel like a lot of it was out of her control. And she also was more scared. So she wanted to keep her daughter safe. She's like, you know what, I'm not gonna like risk it. So they both want me to become a doctor. And like I feel like I'm carrying on the dreams of generations of women. So that's like my biggest motivation to become a doctor. And I'm, because I'm very empathetical too, like I'm very curious about the body and how it works. So, and I just want to make other people's lives better too. So I feel like I think I'd be a good doctor.
Yeah, there's I know a lot of uh, humanities focused students who would make excellent doctors.
Yep.
I think there's although pre med is primarily hard science based, right? The
Yeah.
classes that you need to take are biology, chemistry, anatomy. Having a
Physics.
base in humanities makes you care about people, and I think at the core, you're an extremely caring person, and
Yep.
you care about the people around you, and you care about your family, and you care about your parents. And so I have no doubt that if you do, it is a long journey. I will tell you that
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's 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 extremely long, and but if you do stick all the way through, then I'm very positive that you would make an excellent doctor.
Yeah.
Um, what else are you looking forward to at Cornell?
Meeting all my friends. So I've made some crazy friends over the past like couple months, and they're feral, but I'm so excited to meet them. My
That's funny.
roommates, yeah, excited to meet my feral friends, some people at my residence hall, um, my roomie. Yeah, so it's just like, I've curated so many like close friendships at Cornell already. And I'm like, yeah, this is a place for me. Like, yeah, a couple months ago, I might have been crying over, oh, I didn't get into Stanford, but like, I kind of don't want to go to Stanford anymore. Like, I would not have met these people if I did not go to Cornell. So, I think in the end of the day, everything happens for a reason. And I'm just so, so, so excited to meet all of them. And, I'm excited for the research. I'm excited for Ithaca, like I visited, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, I think it's exactly what I want from a college. I think Stanford is like, it's very similar. Like, the layouts are very similar because I know, like, Stanford was basically like created by Cornell. Like, they were the blueprint. So, I wanted like one of the main reasons I picked Stanford is because of the rural area and like how nice and big the campus is, and that's Cornell. So I'm just like, it works out. It's just one is cold, one is hot. And I don't really like the heat anyways. So yeah, I'm just really excited for all that. I'm excited for the food because Cornell dining is consistently ranks as one of the best in the country. And yeah, no, I'm just also really excited because they have so many different kinds of PE classes too, like they have white water kayaking, scuba diving, caving, like whatever off the face of the earth. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to try every single PE. So there's just so much to like look forward to.
I was gonna say it's cold.
It is, but personally, I
I
hate
guess
the
you're from
heat.
Michigan.
Oh yeah, no, I hate the heat. I went to Atlanta and I just couldn't handle it. I'm like, yeah, glad I'm not in California right now. Like the heat just makes me depressed. So I think like Cornell's perfect. It's for me.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So let's end off with a final question.
Hmm.
If there was one thing that you think helped you succeed, doesn't, it's up to your discretion on how you want to answer this. What do you think that one thing is?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'd say the people in my life. It's so broad, but my parents, they pushed me, and I feel like without them pushing me, I would not have gotten this far at all. Like I would not have been this independent, and I wouldn't have the motivation to get this far. My mentors, thanks to like Steve from the Ivy League Challenge, he's like really just helped me with everything. Judy, Ethan, even like you, I know we didn't really talk much, but like just you existing, I was like looking at all these applications and these kids are like, oh, like this is so cool. I want to do that. My friends, just really, I would say what built me up are the people that are behind me, the people in my life. And I'm just so, so grateful for everyone I've ever met. Like, even if we don't talk anymore, like, I'm just so glad they were in my life at one point because they helped me develop as a person. And, I'm here now because of them.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very, very humble answer, even though you yourself are extremely accomplished and you should feel proud of what you've accomplished.
I'm trying. It's still got the Asian in me. Now I need to do better.
Well, I think this is a great spot to end the podcast.
Yep.
Very inspirational message. Rely on the people around you, have trust in the people around you, um, and they will take you far.
Yep, for sure.
Awesome. Any other things that you would like to add before we end this podcast, Afi? That's
Um, I would say I just have some tips for essays. So I think everyone knows to not write about sports injuries, so please don't.
right.
And aside from that, one of the methods I used to like brainstorm my essay was literally brainstorming like fun facts about me. And then I went into one fun fact and I delved into it and I developed it into an essay. So I'm pretty proud of my tea essay. It could have been better because it was kind of last minute. I was like procrastinating, but it was about how my usage of tea showed my transformation as a person. So like it went from using tea as like an unhealthy drink to support an unhealthy lifestyle to drinking it for fun and pleasure and to like taking care of myself. So I just feel like that's like one of the best ways you can write an essay is to like literally do fun facts and then just like go into one and just develop it into a story and to tell them more about you. And for my immigrant people, like don't just write about immigration because that can be a red flag and we don't want that. Um But if you do write it, you have to be like very smart about it, just because it's a very overused topic. But yeah, that's about it.
Preach. Everybody take notes. Those are some great tips. Great
Yep.
insight. Great.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.